Just a little head shaking right side up, courtesy of the Upside Down. Here's your look at the Royal Bobbles Netflix Stranger Things Demogorgon Bobblehead. Calling a Demogorgon a stranger thing is a bit of an understatement, don't you think? The nasty predator from the Upside Down is downright frightening. Fortunately, Royal Bobbles has succeeded in taming it down to where it bobbles at your command. Measuring approximately 7.5 inches tall, the super detailed but not dangerous Stranger Things Demogorgon is perfect for your desk or Stranger Things collection shelf. While maybe not the 11th no, we have in fact looked at Royal Bobbles before here on this channel. In fact, at the very end of this video, popping up will be a playlist. You can check out my other bobblehead reviews that I've done, but we're not going to take time away from the very dangerous looking Demogorgon. He'll swallow my face whole if I'm not too careful. I'm going to grab first the tape measure and see how big the bobblehead is. And also as well, if you guys are interested and you'd like to get your hands on this one as well as the Vecna, I believe is still available over on Entertainment Earth's site. You can click the link down below. That'll take you directly over to the Demogorgon, providing, again, he's still in stock. Though the Demogorgon this time around is about 6¼ inches in height, or the bobblehead's going to be about 16 centimeters tall. A bit of a weird pairing, but we're going to slide over the bobblehead of the Demogorgon that we're about to have a look at. And I did, though, want to bring in a bobblehead from Royal Bobbles. Of course, we have looked at before. This just happens to be the Pretty Woman Leatherface. Yeah, Leatherface seems to be disagreeing with what No, I think this is the last time Leatherface. We have looked at a Royal Bobbles here on this channel. I'm sure that, though, will be changing because, again, like the company produces some spectacular bobbleheads if you ever get the chance to grab one for yourself. Speaking of grabbing, though, when you are looking to grab this one for yourself, though, just be careful picking it up as the material is more fragile. It's definitely geared more towards an adult collector. The detailing done, though, to the Demogorgon before, of course, we gotta get a look at his flower petal face. I did, though, want to start things first by looking at the terrain that he's standing on top of it. Seems to be more terrain from the Upside Down, judging by the way the roots have sort of kind of sprouted themselves and spread themselves across basically the same square of stand. I think this is, in fact, the same square size that they're using with pretty much all their bobbleheads, unless maybe the larger ones you have to use and rely on bigger ones. But you can see on the bottom of this, for example, we've got Royal Bobbles Premium Quality Collectibles, along with their website if you'd like to check out more from them. There's also a QR code. By all means, give that a scan. But their website is www.royalbobbles.com. Dealt with the corners here. We've got ourselves some rubberized feet to preventing scratching on surfaces. There's no certificate of authenticity. There's no marking number on this. I think actually they're quite widely produced and of course very easy to get at, if of course you get the chance to get these. Now from there, of course, just one last chance to show you guys what the terrain looks like. I do also really like the color that they went with here, sort of more of a swampier green. The rooted areas seem to be a little bit more of a darker shade to that. And of course, then from there, you've got all the way up here, tree trunk long legs up to the Demogorgon itself. Now, there is a little bit of carefully unpacking that's required whenever you do get yourself a bobblehead, for example. Bobbleheads, Royal Bobbles, that is, carefully do pack all of theirs in styrofoam trays. I did my best to try to show you guys at the beginning of the video just how much packing they put into these pieces. With the Demogorgon, for example, there was even like a square sheet of styrofoam just to protect the arms. Of course, the spindly nature and design of this character, you would not want to have any of this actually break. The last thing I think I actually did do was just unravel. They put sort of like a little foam sheet here underneath the neck to prevent the head from moving back and forth. Living, though, up to the name that it's a bobblehead and all, there you can see like there's a spring inside that's attached to the top of the neck and sort of inside then the cavity of the head. That's the thing that allows the head to move up and down. And I gotta say, it also works quite well for a character like the Demogorgon, too. It does sort of give it a more sporadic shakingness when, of course, you are moving this around. The coloring, though, to the body is really well done here. I can't quite tell whether they've actually added a darker wash to a lighter colored body or if it was the other way around. Judging, though, by how recessed some of those darker areas are, leads me to believe that they probably started with a darker casting and then they just would have painted the beige paint over top of it. It does look quite good. And again, you've got that nice dark contrast between what would be the darker coloring of the body underneath and then again, like the lighter coloring of the beige paint over top of it. They have, like the base down below, added sort of more of a sheen to it. So it looks almost like it's covered in slime. Then, of course, when we look at the front of the flower petal face, you can see that there's both top row of teeth as well as a bottom row down below here. Although the bottom row of teeth, there only seems to be only a few little of them. You can kind of just check them out. There's one, I think there's one also there as well, but there's kind of more teeth onto the top of it. I'm just going to kind of hold the flower so you can see the head sculpt here. I really, again, like the coloring of the darker cranberry red, or sort of more of a blood red that they've used for the inside petals. And of course, you got the mouth there also as well. I just don't want to really get my hand too close to it. The thing, though, again, about this is the fact that it's really geared more towards adult collectors. This is not something as a toy you would want to be picking her up and horse playing or like roughhousing with it. Because, of course, the material that they've used here is certainly more brittle and more susceptible to breaking. There's no real posability at play here. The whole sell of this is the fact that you're getting a really detailed statue that just happens to have a bobbling head. I don't think the bobblehead aspect of it does detract at all from it. I mean, obviously, in the case of like the head, for example, it isn't quite the same size as the neck that always usually is the case. And even when we have looked at bobbleheads, like for example, the Pretty Woman, I'll just carefully bring back in here, for example, the Pretty Woman could kind of hide more the fact that the neck had to be a little skinnier to accommodate the spring, because of course the head is sitting on top of it. The Demogorgon has maybe a harder time to sell it, simply just because, again, like it has to be a larger head up here to accommodate the ability to be able to move back and forth. So there's a little bit of breakup, but again, like the head sculpts for these pieces are always generally larger as well than the bodies themselves. All in all, though, it's a really nice looking bobblehead. The price point, by the way, for these, I don't know if I had mentioned earlier into the review, but I think they're like $35.99. In fact, I know that this one was $35.99 over on Entertainment Earth. For that, I think you're getting a pretty good looking statue that, of course, does have the benefit of the bobblehead. And again, if this is the kind of thing that you guys are certainly into, I know there's a big market of collectors out there that really love bobbleheads. Maybe not as much in the earlier days of me reviewing. Maybe I didn't look as many at bobbleheads, but certainly with the work that Royal Bobbles is doing with all of their bobbleheads, especially with around that Halloween season, because Spirit Halloween, for example, always has those Spirit Halloween exclusive bobbleheads, and those are always ones I tend to pick up every single year. In fact, I think like the Pretty Woman was a bobblehead I picked up last year at Spirit Halloween. While, of course, not drawing the attention too much away from the Demogorgon, I will say, though, like the Demogorgon is really nicely done here. Now, Royal Bobbles has also produced a Vecna, so if that's the kind of character... I mean, I like Vecna, but I think, like, as a bobblehead, I think almost the Demogorgon works a little bit better, especially like kind of the shakier nature of the head sculpt moving around on the spring. Yeah, nice work from the folks over at Royal Bobbles. Ever since the first time I locked my eyes on whatever eyes this thing had in the first season of Stranger Things, I've always been interested in the look of the Demogorgon. The body, though, while just having a lankier, longer body that we've already seen before with movie and television monsters, it was, though, that flower petal face that had me hooked right away. There was, of course, the Demodogs, which I never thought was always as cool as the full-grown Demogorgon, and there's been tons of merchandise on the market all portraying the way that the Demogorgon looks. Now, of course, we get one here from the folks over at Royal Bobbles, a fine looking bobblehead. Now, of course, when it usually comes to the case of bobbleheads from Royal Bobbles or any other company that's producing bobbleheads, it's usually only obviously just the head that's going to move. All the rest of the figure's body is just staction, but it doesn't mean that the talented folks over at Royal Bobbles didn't put the time and the care into not sculpting a spectacular looking body, as well as well painting it too. That little additional clear coat finish that they've added to the body sort of gives it a slimier exterior. And again, like the head sculpt, while being obviously a little bit more broken up, because of course it has to have a larger head on a smaller size body, the smaller, more lankier neck does make the head look even more separated. But it's unfortunately one of those things that has to be sacrificed in order for the figurehead to be able to move freely with the spring inside the built-in head sculpt. Overall, though, from head to toe, a really interesting looking bobblehead. Whether you guys are collecting bobbleheads or maybe this is something that you could see yourselves getting into, I would definitely say if you're a big fan of Stranger Things, you may want to grab the bobblehead of the Demogorgon and add it to your collection shelf. Now, I did, again, find this one over on Entertainment Earth's site. They had this one, and I think they also had still Vecna in stock for $35.99. So it's about $36 when it's all said and done. To help save a little bit of that course, if you guys are interested, you can click the link down below. And not only using that link will save you 10% on the Demogorgon, but also as well, it will save you 10% on anything that's in stock currently over on their sites. Let me know down below in the comments section. First of all, do you collect bobbleheads? And if you do, which ones do you have? If you don't, but you are a fan of Stranger Things, could you guys see yourselves picking up the Demogorgon and adding it to your collection? If you guys also as well enjoyed this video, want to hit with a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing and certainly do want to stick around for more, even if also it means that we are going to be looking at some more bobbleheads, because we are going to be looking at a bunch, leading of course up to also Halloween, because Halloween's just right around the corner. Spirit Halloween this time, as they do with all the previous years, will also be doing exclusive bobbleheads from Royal Bobbles, all of which we will be looking at here on the channel in upcoming videos. So there's lots of content coming your way, guys. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.